Hello everyone, I'm Hazel. First of all, thank you so much for coming to this session during the weekend. I've already seen some familiar faces because we had a few events couple of days ago. So for those of you who have seen me, we had a chat or you have already go through the presentation, please bear with me. Some of the information that I'm going to share might be repetitive for you. But so before we start, can I get a sense of how many of you are already familiar with INSEAD? Yeah, please raise your hand if you are already familiar with INSEAD. Okay, great. So we have people who are familiar. At the same time, we also have new friends who join and wish to learn more about INSEAD. Great. So let me just do introduction again. I'm Hazel. I'm part of the marketing and the recruitment team in INSEAD. And yeah, we are very honored to be here at the LeadersMBA to share a little bit more about INSEAD. So today's session, we will also go with an overview with the school, the program, and then later on we have alum joining us. Unfortunately, we have 3 alum that signed up, but 2 of them, due to the conflict of work, they may not be able to come. But we have one that joining us later to share more about his experience, takeaway, the career progressions. And of course, today's session, we will also zoom in a bit more on the application itself. Okay, so feel free to ask questions if you would like me to elaborate more. Okay, we will definitely leave time for the Q&A later. Yeah? Thank you. So yeah, we will introduce the alum later when he's arrived. So first of all, for those who new to INSEAD, INSEAD was founded by this George Doriot, who was the father of venture capitalists. Yeah, so after World War II, so this prof, who was also a prof from Harvard, who has shared the vision of rebuild the nation after the war, unite the people and the culture. So INSEAD was founded in 1957 at Fontainebleau, which is about 80 minutes away from Paris. Okay, so they have a very nice chateau called Fontainebleau Chateau, right? So if you have an opportunity to visit Paris, please drop by. You can also get our colleague to guide you around the campus. So we are the first MBA school that is set outside of the USA. So since then, INSEAD has achieved quite a number of milestones. One that we are quite particularly proud of is in 2016, we have been the first one ranked #1 in Financial Times, concurrently, simultaneously in 3 categories, which is the MBA, Global MBA, and our partner, the program that we partner with our partner university, University of Tsinghua, the Global EMBA or the Tianba program. So in 2020, we have launched this Master in Management program, and since then, we have also expanded our portfolio. So next year, we are going to launch the new Master in Finance program. So can I also, again, have an understanding of how many of you here are looking for the MBA program? Or a majority of the participants here for MBA. Anyone looking for MIM or MIF? Pre-experience, okay, we only have one. Okay, so today's session, we are mainly focused on the MBA, but for those who are interested in the pre-experience master, we can connect again after line, okay? So INSEAD is always committed to be a global business school, meaning to say that we are not only give students the international exposure, we also make sure that we invest physically at the 4 different locations. Those are the important major economic regions that we set ourselves to. The first one from Europe, Fontainebleau, and then in 2000 we came to Singapore. After that, there's a campus in 2007 set up in Abu Dhabi, right, in the Middle East. And we also have learning hub at San Francisco, right? So we do have the program allows the students to do exchange, some of the program for a period of study. For the learning hub, it will be more of the networking because it's not yet a full-fledged campus. So there's a lot of opportunities for the global network. INSEAD is supported by 73,000 alumni. The school basically belongs to all the alumni, right? And it's a big community, bearing in mind that students come to MBA program already had a number of years of working experience. They already have their own network. So, and each year we graduate close to 1,000 students. So the impact of alum network kind of multiply. Yeah, and we have our alumni came from 183 countries. Basically, whenever you go, you kind of be able to bump into INSEAD alumni. And out of 176 nationalities, we have like 49 different national alumni associations. So there's one in South Korea as well, right? So the alumni, they do a lot of mingling, networking. So there's a lot of activities that are going on. So let me just give a very quick overview of the program. So the first two you see MBA, but they're at different time of the year. So we do have 2 intake a year, right? So the first one start from January is usually what we call the January intake, right? The whole duration, if you look at the periods, they are all 5 periods. The differences will be if it's a January intake, there is a break in the summer. So students use this summer break for internship, right? But of course, for the August intake, there wouldn't be an internship in between, right? But is this internship important, compulsory? The answer is it depends whether you are aiming for finance sector like investment bank, PEVC, then usually internship is required before the company be able to give you a return offer. But if you are aiming for consulting, tech, commercial, then maybe internship is not really a requirement. So we do have students that to do the internship after they graduate, or if you already secure a full-time job, then that's perfect. Okay, so that's the only difference. And if you ask any alum, based on the intake they go to, they will always think that that intake is the perfect intake, right? So that's basically just a perception, yeah? Not differences. The whole entire INSEAD experience, journey, curriculum, career support, everything remain the same for either intake, yeah? We also have the Master and the MIF program, which is structured slightly different. So the whole journey is about 16 months. But of course, on-campus study is still 10 months, but there will be a 6 month of internship, which is compulsory for the MIM or MIF student, purely for the visa reasons, which allow students to kind of like stay in the region to do kind of like internship or even recruiting eventually, yeah? Whichever program that you go to, you can see there will be exchange or study trips that the students can go to. This is where our multiple campus kind of like play a part in your journey. So for MBA, you can really customize your journey. So for example, we have students who decide to start at the Fontainebleau campus for the starting period, which is the 2 compulsory period. And then from period 3, when the elective come, they could choose to either go to Singapore campus, or they can go to our Abu Dhabi campus, or some of them may even bid for exchange at our partner universities such as Wharton, Catlock, or SIPS in China. Yeah, so everyone's journey might be different, purely based on your own career aspirations, right? So it is really a very customizable kind of journey. Let me just show you the class profile of the MBA and the pre-experience program. So as you can see, the average age is different. So the program tailored for different students or people at different career stage, right? So for the pre-experience master, the purpose is for our students to kick off their career at a more global, multinational kind of like companies. And for MBA, usually aim for people who like to do a career pivot, right? So for example, someone would like to go to consulting, someone would like to go to, other industrial sector. And there are also people who would like to remain at their own, but they wish to maybe get a higher position, assuming higher responsibilities. So there will be more of the acceleration that we are talking about. Yeah. So both all the programs that here listed are the full-time program, and in the way it's really more of tailoring to students at different career stage. So when you are considering the program, think about what is the stage and what do you want to achieve post-MBA. So like I mentioned earlier, we have this new program they're going to launch next year, the MIF program. MIF program is quite new. It's a specialized master program. It is built on the success of our MIN program. Like when we start the ranking of the MIN, we have been the top 3 in the world for the consecutive years. So based on the success and the confidence we get, we have a lot of younger professionals or younger students who are aspired to get into finance sector to be a financial expertise. So if you have already set your career early that you were aiming for finance, then this is a program for you. Okay, so I also have a slide to just elaborate a little bit more about the differences. But given that today the majority of the attendants here are for the MBA program, I'm going to skip this. Yeah. Okay, so the for INSEAD Global School, of course, we are assessing to the global employment opportunities. So the hiring companies coming to INSEAD value our INSEAD talents, who are someone with the global mindset, who are adaptable, who are resilient, who are ready for the challenge, right? Because you are exposed to that kind of learning experience where you are mingling and networking with people come from totally different background, hence coming with the different perspective, the views. So you would be able to adapt very well in that kind of multi culture or background kind of like a workplace. So those are the top hiring companies. They're recruiting INSEAD talents year after year. As you can see, we are well known for the consulting. Right, but INSEAD is not only a consulting school, right? So we also have people going to tech, finance, luxury, healthcare. So name it, you have it. Yeah. So it's really a global employment opportunities that open to our students. And many years down the road, as you can see, there are so many INSEAD alumni who are in the senior leadership position. So here are just a few that we gathered. There are a lot of them are in the APAC region. Hence the reason why. So some of the companies you can see are quite well known, like Lego Group, right? L'Oreal, Mitsubishi. So there are many CEOs. They are graduated from INSEAD. And if you're looking at the long-term value of the MBA program, you will realize that MBA is not only about getting a good first paid job after MBA. It's more of 5 years, 10 years down the road, what kind of position that you can get through the network of the INSEAD alumni. Okay, we are also well known for entrepreneurship, right? So in fact, INSEAD ranked #1 in the Europe for producing most European unicorns. And worldwide number, we are #2 institution, yeah? So we have many resources that school provide to help students taking up the startup role or even eventually want to enter into the entrepreneurship kind of business. So for example, the startup bootcamp, right? So we have 48 hours training workshop to get a student an understanding of how to start a business, right? Entrepreneurs in residence, there's so many mentors that are available on campus, at each campus, which will be easily available to meet the students whenever you have doubts, you need some guidance. We also organize VC competition, and this is a very well-known competition across different programs. So not only MBA students participate in it. In fact, there are lots of MBA students partner with our even EMBA students to form a team or form a business ideas. So there's this IVC competition that we organize and run every year. There are also a lot of our students get the first seed money through our alumni or professors. So in fact, our professors are very willing to invest in our students and get the business kick off and running. Yeah. Okay, so those are the few of the companies that we listed here are founded by insiders. Redmart, for example, in Singapore, a very big shopping platform, online shopping platform. And also, if you are coming to Singapore looking for rental, you will definitely use Property Guru, one of the top one in Singapore as well. So those, and also, for example, if you are coming to the MBA program thinking about financing, right? So we have this Prodigy Finance, WISE as well. They are founded by INSEAD students during their MBA journey, right? So those are some examples, yeah? Okay, I'm not going to go very detailed in the experience because we have our alum here, Helios, with us. Thank you, Helios, for coming. And let's just welcome our alum to share with us more about your exciting journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Perfect. So my name is Helios. I actually joined INSEAD 5 years ago. So you all look very young to me, like the fresh faces. So it's a half decade ago that I joined INSEAD. Time passed really quickly. I didn't really feel it. But I'm going to start with how I feel strangely that actually this June, like 2 months ago, I went back to France, to INSEAD, because there's a 5-year reunion. And during which time, a lot of INSEADers that graduate this time choose to go back to school and then gather with each other and see how's everyone doing. Surprisingly for my batch, originally I think we have around 600 people, both Singapore and France, both two campuses. There were around like 300 people went back to school. So I think that is some indication saying how strong the international community is and how much people appreciate the school, the people that are there and that they spend the time with, because they're really happy to delegate, to contribute their time and effort to go back to reunite. So I think this is a really fresh, immersive experience for me in INSEAD. And back to 5 years ago, actually 6 years ago, in 2021, I joined INSEAD, starting in Singapore. Before that, I worked in China. I'm Chinese. I work in China, I work in retail and luxury. I work in LVMH in marketing, digital transformation. But after working for a few years, like 5, 6, and 7 years, I feel like, do I want to do this the rest of my life, or maybe I want to try something different, like more international experience, working with a more global kind of environment, and also maybe pivot into some different industries that I never had experience with. So with this kind of motivation, I was like, okay, INSEAD is one of the good options because it's also in France. LVMH was a French company. I had a really good experience there. So I was like, okay, why not trying INSEAD? And then that was actually the only school I applied. And interestingly, I got in. Actually, I applied in 2020. That was also the time with COVID. So yeah, everything was changing. I always had the plan thinking about, okay, should I go study somewhere, have a different life experience? Because previous 20, 30 years, I only spent my time in China. I was like, and then with the COVID, right? You guys all know, like the global lockdown type of thing. I was like, do I want to trap myself only in one place for the rest of my life? I was like, maybe I don't want to do that. So it's also kind of like of a sudden that I decided to apply, and I was very lucky that I got in. And then starting from that, I think it's actually a really major turning point in my life. In INSEAD, my experience started in Singapore. Despite it was COVID years, I think the school was trying to accommodate as much as they can to provide students both online and offline experiences. I have some friends who went to US schools where the lockdown was kind of just happened, and a lot of their programs suddenly gets all lifted up online. For a whole year, they have like online courses they never talk to or meet in person with their classmates. But for INSEAD, despite in Singapore, it was very strict. They were like, people have safe distancing, and then you cannot have more than 8 people gathered together, which was very challenging for INSEAD because it was also known as like a party school. Party as in like people socialize a lot. With that, like 8 people gathering is like a big constraint. But I think there's a lot of brightest mind where after you enter into INSEAD, there are people like, okay, if we can only gather into 8, but you can actually unlimited time to gather with other people, right? So each time 8 people, but you can always mix and match. So some people, brilliant mind, they threw a Excel sheet. They were like, hey, today we're gonna organize like a dinner event, and then there are like 10 different tables. Fill your name, which table you wanna join. And then we are under the rules, but perfectly that you have dinner every day with someone from different country with different background, and then you meet so many people. What I'm trying to say here is that I feel like the world is changing a lot of things you cannot predict, but on the one side, INSEAD is doing its best to cater the changes and then to provide good experience for students. On the other side, I think there are so many brightest minds that you don't even think about, hey, you can actually solve problems or deal with things with creative solutions. And I think that was one of the examples just to show that, wow, it's really cool to have INSEAD experience in that time. Despite there are a lot of global challenges at that time, we still had a really good experience. Yeah. Another thing about INSEAD experience, I think I want to highlight is about the people. There were, as Hazel just mentioned earlier, there were like maybe 100+ countries of people joining the program. For my batch, there were like, I think it was like 100 nationalities. Some are in Singapore, some in France. I think it's not just about the country or nationality that they're from. It's more about the different perspectives that they bring. I grew up in China. I live in China. And I always think about, okay, this is the way that we do business. And that is how it should be. However, when we actually start working together in the classroom or doing kind of group projects, you start to realize, what I think is a simple truth is very debatable. It's not something that other people will assume correct. For example, when we start some business cases, Americans usually will like discuss about like shareholder value, profitability type of thing. Maybe someone from Europe, like from France or from Northern European countries, who are like social responsibility or sustainability. These are like their prior concerns. And people like in India or in China, they were like, scale, we need to kind of expand, right? I mean, they're all correct. But the thing is, in the business, in the more like global setting, in real life, you can all be correct. But what matters is it's great to have multiple different perspectives to have a whole picture. Otherwise, if everybody thinks about the same thing, one perspective, it could be very dangerous, right? So I think that is a really valuable thing. I think INSEAD constantly say we're very globalized, we're very international. But I think another really important value the international brings is different perspective. And that actually is very valuable. Another thing is about network. During the program, like you have so many experience and chances to interact with people. After the program, like say 5 years, right? Like I just went back to France. And I saw so many people and we're still friends with each other. And during those 5 years, I actually travel quite often in Asia, in Europe, or in US. As long as it's like a major city, I can always find people to ask for coffee chat whatsoever. Like people I already know, people I don't know, people I never met. Actually, in my year, there were 600 people, roughly. some are in Singapore, some in France, and every semester we kind of change different campuses so we could miss each other. I still feel excited that after 5 years later, I still have so many people that I never met in my batch, but I'm constantly knowing more people because of the very international global network. The way I get to know them is like, well, INSEAD have like some sort of app, yeah, where you can just say, oh, like this are the distancing. It's kind of like a dating app, like based on the distance. You'll say, oh, okay, there's someone 5 kilometers away from me. Okay, I can approach the person. Or just in LinkedIn, and then you see the person is in the country. Last year, I was visiting US, just traveling. I didn't have a really well agenda. And I started to kind of dropping some messages, and I also checked my INSEAD app. And I started to connect me with some of the INSEAD alumni. They ended up showing me San Francisco. It's kind of like a hub of entrepreneurship. They even bring me to some of the entrepreneurial sessions, etc. I was like, oh, there's no way I can do such things and have such experiences if I'm just purely traveling without knowing anyone. I think this is also another example of showing the global network, what actually it means. It actually means very like tangible. Yeah, you can feel and you can have different experience that applies to you. Yeah, I think those are two major things I want to highlight about my INSEAD MBA experiences. And in terms of a campus, I actually started in Singapore. But I was a D batch, and during COVID, so there are a lot of kind of different complications. And I went back to China for internship. Because of COVID, we have to do the quarantine. So I was not able to go back to France to continue my P3. But I feel like the school was very flexible at that time enough to help me to rearrange my schedule so that they put my P3 to P6. I don't think now it still is the situation, but this is another example just to show INSEAD it's could be very flexible and to accommodate the students' needs. And after that, I went to France. Very different experience. It was really cold in winter. And most of my class have already graduated. So I literally have no one to talk to because they follow like the 12-month schedule. And I have like extra another 2 months because I didn't do my P3. Yeah. And however, I don't feel alone at all. Like the big community, and then there were still kind of upcoming students. So I actually ended up kind of knowing another brand new batch of people. Yeah. And so I think the whole year is very intense. Intense in the sense that it's 12 months or 10 months. If you are a July batch, you only have 10 months, and you have 5 semesters, and each semester is like 2 months or less because you have take the class and then have like exams, and then you have like a few days of break. So it's very intense. However, I feel that it's actually a day-to-day really important practice to help me realize or help me have a bite of experience of what is going to be the post-MBA real life going to be. Because the real life is you probably don't have all the time for all the things. There's always much more coming into your bucket, into your plate, but you have to prioritize, right? Do I focus on study? Do I focus on networking? Do I focus on career, job seeking type of thing? You cannot do all of them. A lot of people just sacrifice their sleep because they don't want to give up. Yeah, I think this is, if you look at from outside experience perspective, you think, oh, this is very intense. If I want to do MBA because I want to rest from my career type of thing, but that sounds very intense. However, if you're really in the program and if you're day-to-day meeting really exciting and brightest mind, like really smart people, I think that gives you a lot of excitement, and then you will also have the peer pressure, like everyone is trying to do everything, and then life is so interesting in the year. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people would say INSEAD is probably one of the best year of their life. I partially agree. I think that definitely is one of the most memorable year of my life. And the impact is continuing. After graduation, I still feel I'm benefiting from the network, from the school. So yeah, that's so much about my INSEAD MBA experience. post-MBA, I feel it does help me to achieve my goal. Pre-MBA, as I said, I want to try to switch to a more international working experience, more different location, and a different industry. So I was able to switch to tech, and in here, Korea, a different location, and also I'm doing different functions. Before I was doing marketing and digital transformation, now I'm doing, and after that I joined the Samsung Global Strategy Group, so I was doing consulting. And then after that, I'm now doing product management and having some kind of AI project exposure currently. I think that experience helped me to realize that INSEAD does nurture or kind of help me to grow my career in the sense that it's not a linear career progression anymore. Before INSEAD, I'm like, okay, what is the next position I'm going to fight for? But after INSEAD, I feel like, okay, I see career differently because I now see what are the most important skill set or capabilities a person should have. And with all those, you should not limit yourself to a specific position where you should pursue next. Because at the end of the day, you work with people. If you're able to solve problems, if you're able to communicate well, stakeholder management, communication skill type of thing, there's much less limitation for you in front of the career growth. Yeah. I would say INSEAD, it's an amazing year. I'm still benefiting from it, and then that's why I'm very excited to share my experience, and I hope if you can benefit anything, feel free to reach out, or if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much.
Sure,
Yes.
of course.
Very well, thank you. Yeah. I'm sure there are more questions for Helios later, but let's just come back, zoom back on the application first, and then we can leave some time for Q&A, okay? So by the way, this is the app that Helios has mentioned earlier on, my INSEAD app. So from that, you'll be able to see people within the distance range, right? And then you'll find a lot of them nearby you. A lot of alum use the app when they are traveling, in the airport lounge, when you have some spare time to kill, right? It's good to kind of like grab alumni over a coffee chat. And the calendar, this is an institutional level calendar. As you can see, in a particular month, there are so many activity happens worldwide. So a lot of people also would plan this in their own trip. Could be either professional or personal whenever you are visiting, right? Do check out what the activity, the local activities happening with the alumni association, and then you can kind of like participate as well. Yeah? So I'm going to skip that application. So in INSEAD, we evaluate every candidate holistically, right? So it's never about tick the box, never about if I get a very high GMAT GRE score, that's my chances of getting into INSEAD being improved. There's a lot of people ask about that question, right? So of course, GRE, GMAT is important because it kind of like justify the academic capacity that you have, which is important because the curriculum is rigorous, right? And the pace is fast, and there are many brilliant mind people around you to work with. But it's not everything, right? So in our admission criteria, there are other 3 elements which are equally important. The second one is the international motivation or outlook. So there are some differences between motivation outlook versus international exposure, right? Exposure, just one element to kind of like show that there's an exposure, that you had years of experience, which are also important, right? But the motivation is equally important. So let's say we have someone who might never left their home country, but they may speak more than one language, right? Always curious about the other cultures and all that. Could also use to justify in the international motivation. Ability to contribute is important because it is a close-knit community. INSEAD alum helps alum, right? So when you are a student, there's a lot of work that you have to do, which is group work, right? So you have to contribute your idea, your perspectives, so that you would benefit more in this, classroom or group work assignments. Leadership potential and the track records are also important because MBA is for people who have already accumulated a few years of working experience, right? So the depth of the working experience, the exposure, the project, the people that you have led in the past is also evidence to show that you would be able to develop or grow further as a future leader, right? So that is, all of them are equally important, right? There's no one outweigh the others. So the academic capacity is shown as the test result, which is the most straightforward one. The rest are the are kind of shown in your CV, in the application form, the recommendation letters your referee is going to write for you, whether the person has worked with you, knows your leadership potentials, can speak volume about your potentials. All those are important, yeah? The admission process-wise, always start with an online application form. And then there's a video interview that you have to be complete after the application. From that, there's a pre-selection decision. So if you are pre-selected, this is where you'll be invited to have interview with alumni. So usually it's 2 MBA alumni will interview a candidate, one after another. And then you will sometimes go through the admission committee for review before we will make a final decision. Yeah? So the admission application requirement-wise, like I said, the online application, GMAT, GRE scores, your undergraduate transcript are important as well, right? So the GPA score that you have achieved. Well, we also have students ask, what if my undergraduate GPA is not that high? Would that be okay? Does it affect my chances? So if you have relatively lower GPA score, you have to then make sure that you have a high GMAT or GRE score to compensate that. Yeah, and what is done deal is done deal. But in the additional essay, try to justify the reason why it wasn't, that high. Was it because you were doing some kind of internship? Was it because you were actively participating in the clubs or your campus life and stuff like that? We do have a language requirement. Later I'm going to show you. And in the application, there's motivational essays for you to answer as well. And then we need 2 recommendation letters. And after that is the video interview. So many people ask the question, what is the score that I should aim for my GMAT GRE? So the first one is the older version of GMAT, and if you haven't done the GMAT, you are probably going to do the new one, right? So for the new one, we need a percentile for verbal 60, and for the quants and the data inside 66 percentile. For GRE, both verbal and the quants, you should aim for the 80 percentile. So this is not the minimum. This is just a recommended score, right? Of course, we have students who might be slightly lower than that. Is that okay? The short answer is it depends, right? So if, let's say, you have relatively lower data inside or quants score, but in your major or the nature of the job that you are doing has involved a lot of numbers dealing, then in the way it will help to also compensate the relatively lower quantitative skills. Okay. Application requirement, all those are mentioned earlier on. And the video interview wise, we have 5 interview questions. You have 45 seconds to prepare and then 1 minute to answer. You can actually practice as many times as you wish, but once you start recording, you have to record all in one go, right? So in the video interview, it serves few purposes. The first of all, we would like to see and also to kind of be sure the candidates would be able to articulate their thoughts well, right? Achieving a high score in the language test is one thing, right? We have many students be able to do the test very well, but articulating the thoughts that's another thing, right? So in the classroom, there's a lot of peer group learnings where you need to kind of like constantly engage or exchange ideas, right? So having a strong articulation skills in the class is equally important. So you can choose when you are submitting the application, indicating which campus for you to start. So that's what we call the home campus. There's a choice of either starting in Fangchengbu, Singapore, or either campus, means that there's no preference, right? So then it will leave for the school to allocate a campus for you. But the starting campus will not influence admission decisions at all. Okay, so don't have to worry about whether this is more competitive over another. So the whole experience, regardless campus, are exactly the same. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, there's more about international motivation, but international exposure is part of the justification. So you can kind of select the activity that you have participated in the past. As you can see, the lists are quite long, right? So it could count as you grown up, your business seminars, leisure traveling, or a project or research that you have go on, summer school, some of the students may participate. So there are a lot of activities, right? All that counts as the international exposure. Language requirement, right? So it depends on the mother tongue. So usually for MBA, we require 2 language, right? 2 language. So I think for Korean students, that is quite straightforward. Usually Korean is your mother tongue language, and then you just need to justify the English language as considered as a second language, right? But we also have some Korean students who are maybe like born and raised in an English-speaking country. Then our advice is to still put Korean as your mother tongue language, because English is the first language. Then sometimes it's a bit tricky to get a second language, right? So this is a language policy. Letter of recommendations. So make sure to communicate ahead of time with your referees who are going to write your letter of recommendation. In general, they will be given up to 48 hours after the run deadline, but we don't want to rush people, right? So the first thing you can do before you start the application is, first of all, identify who will be the good referees, those people who have known you, worked with you closely, at least for the past 1 year, right, who are confident in your leadership potential. Usually those are the good ones, right? The rank and the position come second, because no point to get a very senior people who doesn't know you well to write a reference letter for you, right? So I think most important thing is the person must work closely in a professional setting, right, to write the recommendation. So give them a good heads up and put their name down, and then you can actually click the link, the blue link here. So once you click the link, an email will be triggered, and it's an automated email from the school. So they will receive the email, and then from there they can just put in their comments about you, right? So they can actually do it multiple times. They can come back to continue working. It doesn't have to be in one go, but we usually recommend people to do it early. So the essays, there's these 2 parts about the job. The first one is more of providing a summary, for the past. It's a stock take of what has happened in the past, the career progression that you have made in the past. Because even though we're asking for CV, but the CV doesn't justify the rationale behind it, right? Why were you made a pivot, or what kind of progression has you achieved? Or you can give more information about your scope of the work, main responsibilities, the achievements, right? And then the second question is about the future, right? So after you've taken of what you have achieved, people coming to MBA, obviously for a change, right? If you're happy with where you are, you wouldn't want to do the investment, right? So if you want to change, you definitely will have a goal in mind. But will the goal will the goal have to remain the same after MBA? The short answer is not necessary, but it doesn't mean that you wouldn't have a goal. You will still have a goal when you're coming to MBA program. So there's a goal, there's your current position, and then there's a gap. So we will also try to understand from the candidates whether INSEAD MBA, given a reasonable expectation, be able to meet your kind of goal, right? So you have to justify how INSEAD MBA is going to help you, whether it's through the alumni network, or whether it's through your more general management business kind of background studies, and then to tell us, is this MBA something important to you, right? What are the commitments that you have for the program? After that, we also have like the 3 short essays. As you can see, maximum words 500 for the first one. More of give us a candid description about yourself as a person. What are your strengths and weaknesses, right? It's important to kind of understand yourself, right? And ability to reflect, to kind of elaborate who you are. And it is also important for the school to know you, right? And the second question is about the stressful situation. So this is also a very good question. I mean, I'm sure everyone faces ups and downs in life, which is very common, right? There are some situations you might coped very well, while the others you might not. You might fail to do so, right? So it is okay to fail sometimes, but it's important to reflect later on, to think about what lessons that you have learned, right? What a kind of takeaway that you have from the failure. And if given the time, how would you do differently, right? So this is, in the way, we are looking for people who have the resilient mindset, right? And the third question, is there anything else additional that you would like our admission community to know? If it's not covered in the earlier questions or in your CVs, you can use that space to share more about yourself. Okay, so we need a CV, and there's also CV template online. For those who would like to get a template from us, you can also download the CV template online. And there's also the important information for people to take note when they are doing the video interview. So all this information are also easily accessible online, yeah? Application deadline. So the upcoming one, we are still recruiting for January 2027, but it is in the round 4, right? So the hard deadline is 25th August. For people who's aiming for internship or in the finance sector, we usually recommend people to submit earlier, because you need time to be prepared for the study trip that we are organizing in October. Yeah. Otherwise, the round 1 for the 2027 August intake deadline is on 15th of September, right? So we are we have started the application process already, right? So when is the best round? It really depends on your readiness. Right. Every round, we will say the admission chances are the same. We wouldn't make one round harder than the other, right? So whenever you are ready, you got your good GMAT, GRE scores, you got an essay all covered, then this is a good round for you to aim. Except for, like I mentioned earlier, in the finance sector, if you're aiming for IB, PVC, there's an internship, then probably you should aim for the January intake instead of August. Other than that, everything remains the same. Okay. So that's all from me today, and I will welcome everyone to stay connected. I have my one-on-one booking consultation. So for anyone who would like to get a call with me to maybe discuss your profile fit, or if there's any specific question you have, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah? Thank you, everyone. And maybe now I pass the time back to our alum Helios for open the floor for Q&A if you have. Thank you. Happy to
Hazel, for me, feel free to. Or we can do it offline.
yeah, there's
oh,
one
okay,
there.
sure. Okay, good question. Okay, good question. I mean, a lot of people probably think about applying MBA. They will, one thing comes to mind is the American school because that's where it started. I think back then, for sure, I was also thinking about it. There were a few considerations in my mind at that time. One thing is about where I want to be and how possible it is for me to be after the MBA. Even 5 years ago, I know it's really hard to stay in the US. And for a lot of people, if they went to the US schools, they likely wanted to stay in the US and look for a job, something like that. I think it's not really easy. That's one thing. Another thing is it's kind of, as opposed to INSEAD, I feel US schools is mainly focused on US market. Post-MBA, a lot of US schools just stay in the US, whereas for INSEAD, it's more international. Even if you look at the campus, right, it's not only Asia and Singapore, but also in Europe and also in Middle East. I feel personally that's where more I want it to be. I don't want to just confine myself post-MBA in one location and see how feasible it is as well. Another thing is about like the duration of the program. Most MBA schools are 2 years, the top MBA schools. Of course, I know there are a few programs like NYC, they have 1-year curriculum program. I actually have friends who went there too. They did 1 year too, but it's very specialized if you want to do tech or if you want to do luxury. And it's only one class, like they have 30 people. I was actually hosting a friend last month. She went to the NYU 1-year program and luxury. She was like, oh, we have a very intimate class. I was like, oh, cool. Like, how big is it? It was like 30 people. I was like, oh, okay. Do you hang out with the other kind of bigger group? They're like, not really. Like, they all just hang out a little bit. I think this is a point to say that how important it is to have a very big size of alumni network, because after graduation, that's a really big asset to dig into. So I think, back to the second point is about the ROI in terms of the time and money investment, 2 years versus 1 year. I feel INSEAD is where, at that stage of my career and my life, I feel that's where the best choice for me. Another important reason is actually some friends were suggesting, they're like, if you were to think about applying to MBA school, US or Europe or INSEAD, if you haven't made the decision yet, it's okay, but you gotta start it first, right? And usually INSEAD application is a really good one to start with because it's very comprehensive. I think Hazel just went through like all the material you need to go through. Usually in US school, they may just like ask you 1 or 2 major questions as an essay, like why us, why school, and or what's your motivation type of question. But I feel going through the INSEAD application material is a really good self-evaluation and reflection process, because it's not only a piece of work that the school wants to know about you. I think it's a really good piece of work that you start thinking about yourself. Where I am at now, what have I been through? What are my achievements or strong and weak points? And more importantly, why do I want to apply to school? And what do I want to be after 3 to 5 years? I think it's also a really good practice for you to self-evaluate and then to test if this is going to be a really good program for you. So for that reason, I started with INSEAD and I got it. And I was like, okay, this is a good one to go. And then that's why I only applied for this and I got it. Thank you.
Maybe just to add on a little bit of what Amelia has said, I think he covered most of the essence of that. I think when you choose a school, I mean, obviously we are aiming for the good ones, right? The most important thing is the community. Who would you want to be in the future? Like, it's really a lifelong kind of community. So to talk to the alumni, you will sense different vibe. Right? I think INSEAD alumni are very well known for very approachable, right? They like to help each other. At the same time, it is the culture of like a global business school. So we are not, so INSEAD is like a United Nations. There's no one dominating culture over the other. Well, I think for US, it's more US-centric. Right? So would you like to be a minority with the rest of the minority, or would you like to be minority with the majority, right? So I think this is a question that you can ask yourself, yeah?
Exactly.
Any other question? Yes.
So we're talking about career support at what in, yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of aspect to it, but it's a great question. I think one thing is that in school on campus, because INSEAD is one of the top MBA schools, and for a lot of major employers, they actually would target INSEAD as a target school, so they will come to visit INSEAD. I mean, I think we probably have really as comparable first tier resources as opposed to the US top schools. And another kind of strength for us is that actually we, because our campus in locations, it's not only in Asia but Europe as well, there is also like a little campus, like a hub in San Francisco. But US, I think most of employers, they just come from US and they look for people working in the US. But for the rest of the market, the top one to go is INSEAD. So, I mean, compare with like 10, 20 schools in the US that are competing with other school students, the INSEAD is for sure like the most competitive one that to be with. So this is first thing. I think the employers, like really strong employers, will come to INSEAD. And point two is that INSEAD also have a very strong career development kind of function center. Yeah, yeah. They actually help you to prepare from day one. I think when the day we started the program, they would help us to go through, to prepare you career-wise, like polish your CV and then to go through your story whatsoever. Yeah, I know like you probably touch upon it in your application essay, but after you get in, you might have some change of mind or have some updates. They will all help you to kind of think it through and then to see what's feasible, what is more realistic to help you to work together. They would also organize a few job sessions, yeah, webinars, to prepare. And another important thing, again, is the alumni network. I can't remember how many alumni I approached, but that is one of the most precious thing that I did. If you ever get into INSEAD, I think this is a really important asset you should dig in, because so many INSEADers, if you have any companies or any positions that are interesting, approach them as an INSEADer. It's so easy to lock the door open, and they would share so much insider information to you. With their help, so for me, in internship, I got 3 offers. I approached alumni, and then it helped me so much, and I got those 3 offers. And for full time, I got another 3, 4 offers. Every offer, I got so much help from those alumni. They not only tell you about how the company is, what is a vibe. I think it also gives you like really first-hand experience or knowledge, seeing, hey, whether this company vibe with me, whether their culture works, right? And then having someone inside the company and share the first-hand information, it's really valuable. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So this is the small like a photo. I'm not sure if you all guys can see it. So for example, Stefan is our colleague from Career Development Center. So it's also a centralized team, which we have more than 40 staff in the team. Some of them are the industry experts connect with the future hiring companies. And there are a lot of job opportunities open exclusively for INSEAD students. So you can get the kind of like a linking as a channel. There's also like a dedicated job opportunity sharing channel with our students. So there are a lot of really opportunities out there. Of course, we always advise our students to be more proactive, because alumni, very often they have hiring opportunities open. They will also like to refer it to the upcoming ones, provided they know you, right? So being proactive, reach out for coffee chat to share your stories, your strength, that will definitely increase your chances of being offered with a good job as well. Yeah. Great. Any other questions?
Transition. Okay. Thanks. Good question. So I think first to manage expectation, it's not like a very usual case that people just do 3 transitions. For me, like location, industry, and job functions. I think one thing for sure is that you need to know if you really want to explore different things and how strong your motivation was. And for this point, I had a pretty strong motivation because I feel like the first part of my career was just like selling expensive goods to luxury goods to rich people that they probably don't even like or they don't even need it, right? And I was like, this is my contribution of value that I can create. I think there's much more I can do. And I was like, maybe I should try tech, because I think technology can enable a lot of things, or maybe healthcare. But I wasn't really sure before coming into INSEAD. And I think one important thing that INSEAD offer for me is the time and opportunity for me to test it. So during the internship, I was in a December batch. That means like the summer, I can have 2-3 months of time for internship. And I got 2 offers. I got 3 offers, and I chose 2. I started with healthcare. I went to Johnson & Johnson, the device, and then that's why I went back to China, and then I went to the hospital every day, and just to observe the patient and the doctors, and then just to have their day-to-day life and see what it feels like working in healthcare. And then after that, I went to Tencent, tech company in China, and then I did another internship. And after both experience, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm more leaning towards tech at this moment. And I think INSEAD gives this opportunity that, because both major companies come to INSEAD to recruit, and INSEAD give like the arrangement for internship. And then I have a direction of what I want to test. And so I test in this environment, and then I had a conclusion. So then for the full-time recruitment, I'm just only focused on tech, and then I got a few. Yeah, so this is one. I think another thing is about the location. If you're talking about like career switch different industry and switch different location. I think this is to the point of the previous question, why do I choose INSEAD rather than US? Because US schools, mostly you can only try US market. If that definitely you really want to go, for sure that might be a good option. But for me, I didn't want to limit myself into one just market. I wasn't sure if I want to stay in Asia or in Europe or somewhere else. I think the best way is, if you don't have an answer, it's okay, you just go experience it. And so I tried it in Singapore, I lived there, I loved there, and I feel like living in Asia is amazing. But I still had the dream of living in Europe. So after going to Fontainebleau, I was like, yeah, it feels really romantic, but it's so cold, and there's no AC, right? Now it becomes really important this year. But yeah, after that, I feel like, okay, INSEAD first offers you opportunity to try because it has so many options. And then after you tried it, then you have your own conclusions, which one fits you more. Yeah. So I think to answer your question, I feel it's that INSEAD have many big location coverage or networks, and that helps me to have the feasibility to explore and then to generate my own conclusions, and then hope that answers.
Thank you.
Sure.
So thank you everyone for coming. Due to the essence of time constraints, I think we have to maybe call it a day. But of course, you have any questions, feel free to just talk to us after the session. Yeah, and you can also add me on Kakao. If you have quick questions, feel free to just drop me a text. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for the time. Thank you.